The assassination of American President John F. Kennedy happened at a time when he was traveling through downtown Dallas in a highly secured motorcade. At that time, Secret Service agents and a full police motorcade were with him. Not only that, but the FBI had also been monitoring this entire route for several days. Despite all this, on November 22, 1963, an attack took place near Dealey Plaza, and he was killed instantly. Moments after the attack, the CIA, FBI, Secret Service, and police launched a massive search operation. However, even after exerting so much power, they could not, or perhaps did not want to, bring anyone to justice, apart from a shooter named Lee Oswald. Was this a premeditated conspiracy, or did a lone shooter outwit the world's top secret agencies and shoot the most famous president from just a few meters away? The official story was hard for anyone to accept. There was a straightforward and faster route from the airport to the banquet hall. But why was his motorcade brought through the city center? And who planned this route? Officially, the person who fired the shot did so by coincidence. Or was it planned? The fact is that just a month before, he got a job at the book depository through a single phone call. But how? In the video footage of the shooting scene, a girl in a scarf was seen taking pictures of the murder. Why has she never been found? And what was her connection to all of this? John F. Kennedy was killed in an attack on his motorcade. His death shocked millions of Americans, and the investigation that followed failed to answer the countless questions people had. It is believed that U.S. top secret agencies withheld a lot about the assassination and did not disclose the truth to the public. One reason for this belief lies in the venue selection. President Kennedy was scheduled to give a political speech in the Texas city of Dallas, and two venue options were considered: Trade Mart and the Women's Building. The White House recommended the Women's Building, but Texas Governor John Connally wanted the president to go to the Trade Mart, as it was a banquet hall, while the Women's Building lacked the suitable interior to host the president. Finally, on November 14th, just 8 days before the assassination, the Trade Mart was chosen, although this news was not made public. The next step was deciding the route from Love Field Airport, where the president's plane was to land, to the Trade Mart. Normally, presidential motorcades are routed through areas with minimal obstacles and turns. There was a route that could bypass the city and get the president to the Trade Mart from the outskirts, but it was not chosen. Instead, a route passing by the school book depository, from where the shooter attacked the president, was selected. If you think this route was specially planned to attack the president, you are mistaken. Yes, this was done at the president's own request, as he wanted to pass through crowds of people. But if the Women's Building had been selected instead of Trade Mart, the motorcade would have headed east, increasing the distance from the book depository, and the shooter would have had a harder time targeting him. The First Lady, Jacqueline, who always sat to the president's left, would have come between the shooter and the president. The choice of Trade Mart was crucial to the president's assassination planning, and as you have learned, it was selected by Texas Governor John Connally. However, there's no reason to doubt his intentions, because when the attack occurred, he was also sitting in the presidential limousine with his wife, and he too was shot but survived. Another interesting fact is that Governor Connally was actually against this route and wanted the president to go from the outskirts directly to the Trade Mart. But someone must have calculated all these things in advance. The route and venue were made public only 4 days before the assassination, meaning that this information wasn't widely known. However, something happened at the school book depository 2 months before the assassination, indicating that someone already knew. Exactly 2 months prior, in September 1963, there was a sudden staff shortage at the school depository. Wesley Frazier received a call from an employment agency offering him a job at the book depository. He lived in a town called Irving, a half-hour away, and joined the book depository on September 13. A month later, on October 15th, Frazier's neighbor called the superintendent of the book depository and, coincidentally, was hired the next day. That neighbor was none other than Lee Oswald, who was arrested in the case 39 days after the president's murder. Due to not having a driver's license, Oswald couldn't commute daily, so he rented a room in Dallas. He would go home to Irving with Frazier after office hours on weekends and return with him on Monday morning. This routine continued for about a month until, on November 21st, the day before the assassination, Oswald broke his routine, saying he'd stay in Dallas that weekend. The next morning, as he left for the office with Frazier, he had a long paper bag which he claimed contained curtain rods for his room. Half an hour before the assassination, Oswald was on the 6th floor of the book depository with some colleagues. At that time, it was 12 p.m. and lunch break, so everyone else went to the first floor for lunch, but Oswald stayed alone on the 6th floor. Outside the book depository, crowds had gathered to watch the president's motorcade, and a few book depository employees were also watching from the 5th floor windows. At precisely 12:30 p.m., the president's motorcade appeared. The president was seated on the right side of the car, with the First Lady on his left. The governor and his wife were in the front seats. As the presidential limousine took a left turn from the book depository, the entire area echoed with the sound of a gunshot. A reporter who was recording the entire scene captured it on camera. Some people said 2 shots were fired, while others heard 3. One bullet struck the president's neck, and another hit his head. The limousine driver sped away from the location, but it seemed that President Kennedy had already died at that moment. A police officer in the motorcade saw a man on the 6th floor firing shots right after the first gunshot and immediately rushed into the building, going up to the 6th floor, but found no one there. Within minutes, the police and FBI sealed off the entire building and prevented all employees from leaving. However, one person was missing among them, and that was Lee Oswald. Oswald had already left the book depository, changed his clothes at his room, took his pistol, and went out. The police, who were already looking for him, had alerted the entire city patrol on the radio. A patrolling officer spotted Oswald, but before he could act, Oswald fired 4 shots at him, killing him on the spot. Oswald then hid in a nearby movie theater, where he was soon found by the police and taken to police headquarters. For 2 days, the police, FBI, and CIA interrogated him thoroughly. However, his recorded statements were not disclosed. On November 24th, as he was being transferred from police headquarters to jail, a man shot him in front of the media and police. Oswald died in the same hospital where President Kennedy was taken. This was the official story disclosed, but several witnesses claimed the person they saw on the 6th floor window was not Oswald. Before his death, Oswald repeatedly told the media, "I'm innocent. Nobody told me anything, except the newspaper reporters in the hall asked me that question." If this story is analyzed, the police claim that Lee Oswald cleverly planned everything, got the job at the book depository, and managed to carry out the entire planning alone, evading the FBI, CIA, and police intelligence. However, people questioned how he could make so many mistakes if his planning was so perfect. For example, running away from the building, killing a police officer, which increased suspicion against him, and hiding in a movie theater. Several investigation reports were published after President Kennedy's assassination, but each report made the case more confusing. After Oswald's death, a theory emerged that he may have been killed by those who had actually planned the entire assassination, as such a job would have been impossible without insiders. Many believe that the FBI and CIA were also part of this conspiracy because Oswald, a former U.S. Marine, was already under FBI surveillance. Despite this, they did not inform the Secret Service when the motorcade route was decided. During the investigation, several pieces of evidence were destroyed, including the initial 3 bullet shells found on the 6th floor, which were removed without any pictures and then replaced for a photograph. The initial videos made by the police also disappeared, but one piece of evidence was indeed recorded that could solve the mystery. During the shooting, a girl in a scarf was seen in almost all photos and videos, capturing the entire scene on camera. This scarf is called Babushka, and that's how she was named the Babushka Lady. Many believe the Babushka Lady was also part of the plan and was there to record the scene. However, the FBI has never been able to locate her.